Hey everyone, it's Coach Dave March here, and this episode of the Growth Mindset podcast, we have Mason. Mason is a VP at Alessio, um, and we're going to be talking about what it's like, as a startup, and we're talking about a little bit about perfectionism, and it's going to be a great episode. So, Mason, why don't you introduce yourself to the good people here?
Yeah, Dave, thanks for having me on the podcast. We're looking forward to discussing the revenue operations world and the illusion of perfectionism in RevOps as we kind of discussed. Just a quick introduction of me. I'm the VP of RevOps and Strategy here at Alessio. We are a seed stage startup. That is a tongue twister. If you say it a few times fast, you might get a little mixed up. We're building a platform for revenue operations professionals and revenue professionals, CROs, SVPs of sales. It's a new category product. We're calling it revenue security. It's around risk, or it's a risk-oriented platform to help you secure your revenue, meaning your forecast and your landing spot for the quarter. And we're pretty excited about what we're doing here at the company. And we're, like I said, we're a seed stage startup. I'm gonna mess that up every time I say it. But we're building in build mode right now. So I'm focused on helping build our product out while doing the bulk of the revenue operations work for a seed stage startup. So I got that one right.
Yeah, seed stage startup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Too
Yeah.
many too many S's. It's too
Sure,
alliterative.
yes. Yeah, totally. Totally. And, just for the people out there that are listening in podcast land, um, you know, uh, Alicio, does it have any kind of particular points of like that are like the key points that you'd want to express to different listeners out there?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So when you think about the revenue lifecycle for a SaaS company, especially, you have kind of this end-to-end process that involves a lot of different tech tools, from lead ingestion and marketing to all the way through to retention and kind of churn mitigation. And those tools that sit across that revenue lifecycle are often disparate and owned by disparate individuals and different business units. So our platform is focused on bringing those tools together in a unified data layer and getting those tools talking to each other. And then once that data is unified, being able to surface and address the risks to your revenue. So that could be stagnant deals or slowing down lead flow or extended sales cycle times or smaller deal sizes, anything that would impact your revenue materially. Our platform is oriented around making sure that you're aware of those risks. But it's not just about being aware of the risks, it's making sure that you can actually mitigate them, putting them in the hands of the people that can address them. And so that's the kind of AI or agentic approach to the platform is once you've got the risks, let your sales team or your sales leaders take action on those risks. So kind of closing the loop, and by doing that, you're then securing your revenue. That's the whole concept of revenue security. It's risk oriented and it's letting you know things are wrong, but it's also giving you the tools and the automation to address those in real time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, especially people that are going to be entrepreneurs. Being an entrepreneur is inherently about risk. It's this is it's not for the people that are risk adverse. You have to you have to realize that if you're going into being your own business owner, there's going to be some risks involved. Uh,
Yeah, there's going to be risk, and you're going to probably be sacrificing something, right? Whether it's you're taking a pay cut potentially, or you're putting your livelihood on the line to build something new, or just kind of sticking your neck out there as the face of a company. Like that's something that's new and different to me as well, as I kind of work alongside our co-founders to pitch the product and sell it. Like there's a certain amount of risk you have to take on, and to an extent that's what sales leaders are doing every day. When you're tied to a quota and you're tied to a number, you're always looking at that number as your kind of north star, and how do I get to that number? And when you don't, that's when you might need help from someone or something. So when we talk about being perfect, oftentimes for sales leaders that is a very quantitative thing, where it's like, are you hitting your quota or are you not? And for a CRO, it's, are you pointing your team toward that north star of your financial plan, or are you not? And that's kind of what it boils down to for a lot of these folks we talk to.
yeah, I'm just talking about this now. I was thinking about a quote. I think it was from Stephen Covey. The greatest risk in life is the risk of riskless living.
That's also a tongue twister.
That is a tough one. I was just
I like that though. Yeah, it's true. It's like when we're talking about the reason we're here talking is the growth mindset, right? If you're not willing to assume some risks, then you're likely not going to be growing and moving forward. With every step forward, you're really kind of taking a risk. It's like Gandalf told Frodo, in Lord of the Rings. If, every time you take a step out that door, you're assuming some sort of danger. But it's kind of moving past that and continuing to take those steps, right? That's how you grow.
totally. Yeah, and tying that back into like perfectionism, if you're, in this idea of perfectionism and you're trying to be perfect in everything you're doing, you actually might stop yourself from even taking action because you want to be perfect in every single thing. So you might be overthinking, overanalyzing, and sometimes you just got to ship it. You just got to ship it. You just got just gotta send it
You,
out. You don't know what's gonna work, what's gonna happen. You got to take a risk.
yeah, I love that. Just ship it. That could be the theme of the podcast today, I think. Yeah, and I think for me at a startup and doing this on the day to day, a lot of me as a person is perfectionism. How can I be perfect and make sure everything is perfect? And when you have that mentality in a startup or in your career in general, when you are tied to deliverables or you're tied to things that you actually have to accomplish, if you're always thinking about how is this going to be perfect, you're probably not getting to the action part, like you were saying. It's like, how do you kind of get around those perfectionist impulses? For me, it has to be a very conscious effort, where it's like, okay, if we get to a certain point, I call it the 80% rule, but getting to that 80% mark where I feel confident enough in it 8 out of 10 times that I would do it or take the action, then I just take the action. Because if I'm waiting for that 100%, it's probably never going to happen, and then you get yourself kind of spun up in these cycles of getting everything ready to go without actually going, and that's where I think teams especially, and when you think about me having a background in revenue operations and building a platform for revenue people, there has to be a bias to action, and getting to the point where you can actually take action is critical. And if you never take action, then you never actually grow or get anything done.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. I mean, there's so many people out there that are just, trying to make everything perfect, right? I mean, and sometimes, as I have a coach, and he talks about it sometimes. He talks about trying to make everything perfect is almost like fear in a fancy dress. Because there's
Yeah.
some people that are like, "Oh, I can't launch this product to have the website perfect. I can't launch this until I have this perfect. I can't." So you just keep doing all these things, you turn all these things, and you never actually get to, um, see what the feedback is from people.
Hmm.
And especially in, startups, one of the things that come to mind for me is the Eric Ries, the Lean Startup,
Hmm.
and he talks about that learn, measure, grow kind of cycle. Have you ever heard of this before?
Yeah, I've read the Lean Startup. Yeah.
The Lean Startup, yeah, and that's like the antithesis of it. I mean, if you're just if you're not putting anything out there to get feedback, right? You're not really getting any kind of getting feedback. You can't learn, you can't measure what you haven't learned, and you can't grow from what you haven't measured. So it's a vicious cycle if you're just kind of trying to make everything 100%. um
Yeah, and you're really selling yourself short when you don't get your ideas in a place where you can get them out in front of people, and kind of waiting until you get that last 20% is where I think most ideas tend to die. It's like you've already done 80% of the work to get an idea to somewhere where you're confident enough in it to put it in front of someone. So just do that, and then the interesting thing about doing that Recently with us, it's, we built a demo environment of our product to show people because we wanted to get that feedback, and it is daunting to then go in front of people and say, this is what we're thinking about and this is how it works. Does it look like something you would buy or that you would look at? And you'd be surprised at how receptive people are to seeing something down on paper or on a computer screen. It's almost like it makes it real for them, and they're much more willing to engage with you and give you feedback and kind of help you improve, really, because until they know the idea too, they can't really give you any feedback. So you're really kind of just shooting yourself in the foot if you're always trying to get to that 100%. Hey, this is perfect. Now let's ship it. Sometimes you just, like you said, you just gotta ship
You gotta ship it, yeah. Yeah,
it.
it's real. I mean, it's real, and I mean, it's good advice to a lot of entrepreneurs out there. Um, I really liked what they had to say in Eric Ries's book. He talked a lot about that, and you know, also talking about like mistakes. There could be you know something that you shipped out, or you said, okay, we didn't like that. You could call it a mistake, call it what you will, but then now you can reiterate on that, and now
Yep.
you can make it better. And I think that's really, I mean, the main thing. I mean, in the journey of entrepreneurship, even myself, I had many different reiterations of my business. You know, I started off with just resume writing, doing resume writing, and I thought that was the end all be all. And then over time, I was like, I don't think this is all about resume writing. and 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 you could say, oh well, I just wasted all this time, and people talk about wasting time. It's like, you know, you're never really wasting time. You're starting from experience. That's what you're starting from. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like to me, and you talked about the mistake element of doing something wrong. Like there, from what I've learned, in my career, and in joining a startup, obviously for the last few months, it's been that there are very few mistakes that you can make that are catastrophic in nature. And I think I've fallen into that trap throughout my career, thinking that if I do something wrong or if I fail or if this doesn't work exactly how I want it to, then it's just a wholesale failure, which I don't think is true. And I think that kind of black and white thinking when it comes to mistakes and it comes to errors is kind of, again, what goes back to that kind of paralysis of action, where it's like I'm so scared of failure that I can't get anything done. And kind of you have to kind of recalibrate your brain to be okay with things not being perfect. And it's really hard, especially for people like me who are, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. I'm a black and white thinker a lot of the times, and most things are gray, and most things are not going to kill you in the crib like you think they might. Right? You can
Yeah.
screw something up early, you can screw something up often, but as long as you're taking, like we talked about, taking that next step forward and actually thinking about how you're growing through those mistakes, that's when you kind of reach that. I don't want to call it nirvana, but it is a state of mind that is a lot more healthy, because then it's more encouraged to get things done. You're doing more things. They might not all be perfect, but the volume of your outputs becomes greater. And with volume of outputs being greater, the chances are that you have something gold come out of those. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. We're digging for gold out here. We're like miners. We're just
Yeah. There's gold up in the brain. You just got to get it out into someone else's hands. Like you've got to build a team around you to foster those kinds of ideas and build something cool. Or even if it's just writing it down. Writing it down and sending it to someone close to you and saying, hey, is this a good idea or not? And if they say no, then cool, find something else, or rework the idea. Nothing's black and white. It's all gray.
100%. I agree. Yeah. This is great, man. I think I think we're on a great track here. Um, and yeah, I mean, as we kind of um, go, if there's a story arc, as we kind of go into the falling action here,
Yeah.
um, uh, is there any books come to mind for you, or any quotes or something you would want to impart um, some wisdom on the listeners here? As we kind of start to close down this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my favorite books is the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Like you mentioned, Stephen Covey. I think that book is a book that everyone should read. I think the subtle art of not giving an F is really important too, because that I think that
I
comes
love that
about
book.
with the mindset shift. Because it kind of talks about the both intrinsic and extrinsic factors of this sort of idea of perfection, right? And if you're always listening to your worst inner voice, and you're always listening to kind of the worst voices on the outside, that kind of can cause you to be paralyzed as well. So, yeah, I think those are a couple of the ones that I would recommend. And parting thought would be, pointed to someone who is thinking about, a career path, career trajectory, and thinking about how they take that next step. I would say, and especially for someone that maybe is more of a perfectionist type persona, it's the importance of just being okay with not being okay. you know if it's uncomfortable, it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. Like, not everything is going to be comfortable on your journey to enlightenment. But being able to kind of embrace the discomfort, and pushing past that to more of a gray way of thinking, instead of the black and white perfectionist tendencies that we tend to have. That's what I would kind of point out and say to people. Don't listen to your worst inner voice. Make your inner voice someone who's encouraging you. It's a work in progress for me too.
Totally, yeah, and that's a great call out. I mean, the subtle art of not giving an F. Um, it's a really great book for just brutal honesty, and
Mm.
sometimes this is what we need, especially in startups. Where feedback is very helpful. So I think
Yeah.
that's a great call out. And yeah, I think that yeah, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is also a good ending quote here, I think, as well.
I don't think I coined that one, but we'll use it from whatever source it came from.
Yeah, sounds great, man. Well, look, thanks for joining me on this episode of the Growth Mindset podcast, and let the people know where they can find you, how they can contact you, and all these things like that.
Yeah, so the company name is on the wall behind me. It's Alessio.ai. If you're interested in talking more kind of about revenue security or revenue operations, I'm on LinkedIn, Mason McMullin. Would love to connect with anybody who's out there listening that wants to chat more. And that's kind of my primary professional social media. So we'll leave it at that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for your long attention here. And if you have any questions, you know how to contact Mason. Till then, have a great day, and we'll check you later.
Thanks, everybody.